Hello and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. If you'd like to support our show, please use our Amazon affiliate link below. Today I have a plant care video for lucky bamboo, also known botanically as Dracaena sanderiana. So this is a lucky bamboo here. You can see it's a really cool plant with the twisted trunks, and it is growing in water. Most lucky bamboo is grown in water, although you can grow it in soil. I'm going to tell you all about how to keep this plant healthy and happy in your indoor garden in this video. So lucky bamboo in its native habitat will reach up to 5 feet tall with an equal spread, although it's not going to get that big indoors. More likely only about 2, maybe 3 feet tall. As you can see, it has the slim upright stems, and they have distinct nodes, distinct striping pattern on them that has a bamboo-like appearance. So that is where it gets the name bamboo. It also gets the name lucky because if you grow an odd number of these in your indoor garden, so an odd number grouping in your indoor garden, you are said to going to have luck. So when you get any of the lucky bamboo, make sure that you get 3, 5, 7, 9, etc., or even 1, but just as long as it's odd numbers so that it will remain lucky. So as you can see, the leaves are strap-like and they're pointed, and the leaves themselves will eventually reach 5 to 7 inches long, but that takes a while on the plant. It is a fairly slow growing plant. As you can see, the foliage is green. Sometimes it's a lighter green, sometimes it's a little bit darker green. There are a few variegated varieties with stripes of white to yellow on them as well. And outdoors, the plant will get small white flowers, but indoors it rarely flowers. And as you can see, these ones are in a spiral form, so you can find the lucky bamboo has been trained. It has to be trained when it's growing, when young, but it can be trained to do this spiral-like pattern. They can also be braided. They can also be made into loops and even hearts. So that's another really fun thing about them. Really, really striking addition to your indoor garden. Very unusual, especially for people who may not recognize the plant, know the plant. It's always fun when someone who hasn't seen anything like this sees it in your indoor garden. And as mentioned, generally speaking, grown in water. This one, as you can see, is growing in water, and I have some colored glass and colored marbles in the water too to add another fun kind of a look to it. And where I have it actually in my office, it matches the color scheme in there as well that those marbles do, and colored glass. Okay, so how to keep this beauty happy and healthy in your indoor garden? Well, the first thing to consider is lighting. You don't want to give this plant too much direct sun. That will scorch the foliage. You want bright indirect light, so medium to bright indirect light. They also thrive under full spectrum lighting. This one actually has been growing under full spectrum lighting, and as you can see, it's very happy. Now, if you're not getting enough light for the plant, it will start to show. It won't look happy. There's other reasons that can happen too, and I'll cover that in a bit here, but it just won't look happy. It may get even more green leaves. The leaves can get a little bit greener, which means that it's not getting enough light, or they could, if it's getting too much light, as mentioned, they could get washed out. So trying to find the right lighting you might have to move it around a little bit, but it's not too difficult because, as mentioned, they can take a fairly broad range of light. So as mentioned, medium to bright. Okay, so watering. These, if you're going to grow lucky bamboo in water, the roots should be submerged at all times, and you're going to want to change the water every week to 2 weeks. This is very important, and I do have a video on why you want to change the water when you're rooting plants in water, and it's the same as when you're growing plants in water. What will happen is toxins build up in the water, and it will start to harm the plant. So do change the water on a regular basis, as mentioned, every 1 to 2 weeks. Now, whether or not to use tap water. Okay, so over time, the plants can get tip burn, brown leaf tip, from chlorine and fluoride, which you will find in municipal water that is being treated. So, however, the plants do, when they are getting tap water, use other minerals in the tap water to grow. So if your tap water isn't doesn't have too much chlorine, it doesn't smell a lot like chlorine, and fluoride is harder to detect because you can't really smell it, but what you can do is kind of switch off. So you can grow it in tap water for a week or two, and then you can switch over to RO, so reverse osmosis, or any other type of filtered water, or freshly collected rain or snow water. The snow water you want to warm up. And actually any water that you put into the container of this plant, you want it to be warm. So, but those are so switching back and forth, some people find that to be helpful. Now, your water may be okay. If you're using well water, it could also be okay as well. So one way to tell, as mentioned, is just to see how the plant is doing. Does it look healthy? If you're getting a lot of brown leaf tips, that could be a sign that the plant is having some problems with minerals like fluoride and chlorine, because what happens is it tries to push it out of its leaves, but it just gets to the tip and basically gets stuck there. So that is what you want to consider with the watering. Also, when growing in a container like this, you do want something. Another reason why I have that glass and the marbles there is you want some sort of a substrate at the bottom of the container so that the roots have a place to secure themselves. And you can see in this one, you'll see a little bit of root in there as well. So the plant is definitely, the roots are growing within those marbles and the colored glass in there as well. So that is what you want to do when you are setting up your container with the water for the lucky bamboo. Other thing you can use is gravel. So gravel is also possible. That's another thing that you can put down there. Okay, so humidity for lucky bamboo. Well, the good news is when you're growing the lucky bamboo in the water, it's already going to have a lot of humidity because the water is constantly evaporating, and that is going to humidify the surrounding area surrounding the plant. So they generally like about 50% humidity or higher, and that's usually not a problem when you're growing them in water. Okay, so the temperature for lucky bamboo. It is native to warm regions of the world, so it does best in temperatures of 65 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. If you go much colder, the plant will tend to slow down growth. And if you go much higher than 80, it will tolerate going higher than 80. But at that point, with the higher temperatures, just make sure to keep the water filled and changed weekly. The warmer it is, the more it'll cycle water, and also the quicker that water will stagnate. So keep that in mind as well. So in terms of, quote, repotting the lucky bamboo, you really don't need to, generally speaking, go you're not doing a traditional repotting. However, if you get a lot of roots on the plant, which you very well may, you will need to go to a bigger container because you do want enough room in the vessel that you have the plant in for the roots to be growing comfortably. And also too, if there's a lot of root, it's going to run out of water more quickly, and then you run the risk of it going dry on you, which would not be a good thing. Now, in terms of fertilizing, I did mention that they will get minerals from tap water and also well water. So usually, if you are using some tap or well water or even rainwater, snow water, you won't need to fertilize. However, if you find that you need to grow the plant in distilled or reverse osmosis water, which doesn't really have any nutrients, actually distilled has no nutrients, and RO, generally speaking, takes out the nutrients, then you will want to feed the plant with a dilute form of organic fertilizer. So use a liquid organic fertilizer, make sure it's organic, at 1/4 the recommended strength. So much weaker than you would if you were putting it in water and putting it in a plant with soil. And if you're switching between reverse osmosis and tap water, you usually won't have to do this. Now, if the leaves begin to turn yellow and you've determined it's not another problem, then you could need to add a little fertilizer. So you can add a little fertilizer even if you're using tap or well water. And as mentioned, when you do that, a quarter strength. If you feel that you need to do that, add the fertilizer. Just go on the weaker side. And as mentioned, make sure to change the water on a regular basis. Okay, so pests and diseases. Occasionally this plant will get mealybugs. They like to nestle inside of where the leaves are forming, especially in the new leaves, so keep an eye out for that. Spray with 70 to 91% isopropyl alcohol, and if you do that on a regular basis and then rinse them off a couple times a week at first and then weekly for a few weeks, you will get them under control. It's not that big of a problem with the plant. These plants don't have a lot of leaf and leaf surface on them for things like the pests like mealybugs to get a hold of. So it's not as big of a problem as some other plants, but it can happen. The mealybugs may be on the stem itself, but they're really not going to penetrate that too much. It will be in the leaves. So look in, especially in the leaves that are just starting to unfurl. That's where they will hide and munch away. So there you go with how to keep lucky bamboo happy, healthy in your indoor garden. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.